Egypt has always been known for grand projects. Even from thousands of years ago, they've stunned the world with projects that's had historians and architects wondering how they were built, and if they were even built by humans. Now, in the modern age, they've taken that ingenuity to the next level, with massive projects set to change the narrative of the region and draw people from all over the world to Egypt, not just as tourists, but as investors and technocrats. From world-class tourist hubs to compete with Dubai and Monaco, to cities with the biggest mosque and tallest skyscrapers, Egypt is doing something unprecedented on the continent, reinventing itself from the ground up, completely from scratch. And how are they doing this? Egypt Vision 2030. This is basically the country's big development plan rolled out in 2016. The goal? Shake up the economy, cut down on poverty, and get things running more smoothly. It's built around three main ideas: keeping the economy, society, and environment in good shape. Some key targets include boosting GDP, drawing in foreign investors, fixing up healthcare and schools, upgrading slum areas, and ramping up clean energy. The plan also puts a lot of focus on getting the private sector involved and pushing digital change. This isn't just about creating more jobs and leveling the playing field for Egyptians. It's also about providing more and better housing for a population that's growing super fast. Egypt Vision 2030 focuses on three main things. First, economic growth, like the Golden Triangle project, which aims to turn a big part of Upper Egypt into a new urban economic hotspot. Second, social development, with programs promoting gender equality and protecting women at work. And third, environmental development, such as the newly approved onshore wind farm in the Gulf of Suez. But before we get into the marrows of the bones, we'll kick this video off with two of the most popular projects on the list. The first is the Grand Egyptian Museum. So, Egypt just dropped the world's biggest museum dedicated to a single civilization, the Grand Egyptian Museum, and it's basically a billion-dollar flex next to the pyramids. Here's the good stuff you need to know. King Tut's full collection is finally all in one place. For the first time since his tomb was discovered in 1922, all 5,000 plus of Tutankhamun's treasures are under one roof, including over 2,000 items that have literally never been seen by the public before. We're talking of his golden mask, chariots, jewelry, even a celestial dagger made from a meteorite. Also, the building itself is insane. The museum has a translucent alabaster facade that glows, a 3,200-year-old statue of Ramses II greeting you in the Grand Hall, and a staircase lined with 87 massive ancient statues. Can you imagine that, walking through that space? Oh, and the view? It's positioned just 2 kilometers from the pyramids, meaning you can go see the pyramids of Giza and stop by the museum for lunch in the same hour. Tourists are loving it so far, and the media can't get enough of the coverage. The museum is also high-tech. They've got AI, augmented reality, and interactive displays to bring history to life. Plus, braille signage for the less capable, tactile artifact replicas, and moving walkways so everyone can enjoy it. There's even a children's museum with VR experiences. Talk of next-level architecture. It's a whole complex with restaurants, shops, a conference center, and a research hub for ongoing excavations. It's already pulling around 18,000 visitors daily and is a huge part of Egypt's plan to hit 30 million tourists a year by 2030. Basically, it's ancient history meets the future, and it sounds pretty spectacular. But of all the Egypt Vision 2030 projects, the one everyone talks about, and honestly the most insane, is the new administrative capital. Yeah, you've probably heard of it before, nothing new here, but we couldn't start this video without getting this one out of the way. Egypt is building a brand new $60 billion capital city about 45 kilometers east of Cairo. The goal? Move nearly 7 million people there and finally ease up the crazy congestion in Cairo, which is currently home to around 20 million people. We're talking brutal traffic, noise pollution, total chaos. The government tried expanding Cairo and adding trains and buses, but let's be real, there's only so much you can do with an already packed city. Now, this new city? It's next level. We're talking of an airport bigger than Heathrow, a green space twice the size of Central Park, and a theme park 4 times bigger than Disneyland. It already has Africa's largest mosque, an Olympic-sized sports complex, and the tallest building in Africa. Now, with those two out of the way, let's focus on some that you may or may not have heard of, starting with a project that aims to uphold the Vision 2030 goals. We're talking of the new El Alamein city. So, there's this place called Alamein. Until recently, this place was a desert, but right now you can see towers rising from the sands. Pretty intense, right? Well, now it's getting a total glow-up into a fancy Mediterranean tourist spot that it's hard to believe it's even in Africa, let alone a desert region like Egypt. And honestly, it's already popping off as a summer hotspot. They've even thrown the Alamein Festival there for 2 years now, and real estate prices are climbing thanks to all the foreign interest. No surprise, really. With a 14-kilometre beachside promenade, luxury villas built on reclaimed land, and over 15,000 hotel rooms already done, there's no wonder why people are blown away by it. In an interview, a tourist said he'd visited all the hotspots in the world, but this was their favourite. Not shocking.
Egypt, fantastic place. They will build something like Dubai. It's an amazing place.
But New Alamein isn't just setting its sights on tourism and foreign cash. Like the new administrative city, El Alamein is also trying to take some pressure off the crowded Cairo. The goal is to have 3 million people living in this high-tech city by 2030. If both cities succeed, that'll be nearly 10 million people out of Cairo. Frankly speaking, if the population of Cairo can drop to about 10 or even 15 million, that'll be marvelous. Downtown of New El Alamein city has 4 residential skyscrapers already up, plus one that's 300 meters tall. And they're building crystal-clear artificial lagoons to give the whole place a tropical oasis energy. And even though construction is still happening, investments are flowing in like crazy. It's been such a hit that they're already expanding next door to a place called Ras Al Hekma. If you've ever been to Egypt, then you'll know that most of the places we've mentioned so far used to be deserts and sand dunes just a few years ago. And just like the cities mentioned earlier, only 3 years ago this area had a population of 10,000 people and was mostly known for untouched beaches and olive farms, all in the middle of nowhere. Basically, what New Alamein looked like before development. Now, it's becoming a waterfront city too. The whole place is grouped into 3 main zones, which are further subdivided into 11 subzones. First up is the coastal zone, which is all about tourism, with entertainment spots, hotels, luxury resorts, and other fun activities for visitors. You get the picture? Some parts of the coastline will also have homes for up to 2 million residents. Then there's the industrial zone, which is set aside for light manufacturing. On top of that, they're building an airport just south of the city, along with all the essentials like hospitals, schools, and colleges. The idea is to make the city a legit great place to live, while also being ready to welcome 8 million tourists a year. But don't worry, the government plans to preserve the figs and olive farming, which is why the central zone is being protected so they can keep farming there just like they always have. So, the big question is, who's behind this project and where are the funds coming from? Well, a while back, the UAE signed a $35 billion deal, but analysts think that figure will jump up to $40 billion when fully completed. And yeah, that's the biggest foreign investment deal in Egypt's entire history, ever. Though all these cities were built to ameliorate the population density of Cairo, there's another city barely talked about that had been slowly draining Cairo's population. And though it predates the Vision 2030, it's been included in the broader Vision's sustainable agenda since the launch of the agenda. And that city is New Cairo. So, New Cairo is basically a separate planned satellite city built in the desert about 25 kilometers east of Cairo, that became official back in 2000 thanks to a presidential decree. The whole point was to ease up the overcrowding in Greater Cairo and help with Egypt's long-term urban growth. It covers over 340 square kilometers and has turned into a pretty big deal with lots of homes, businesses, universities, hospitals, and huge housing developments. After 2016, when Vision 2030 kicked in, New Cairo became a key piece of the country's goals for sustainable development, better infrastructure, and economic growth. As for cost, that's a bit tricky. Since it's been built in phases over many years, with both public and private money, estimates vary. Some say the initial development was around $800 million, but with all the ongoing expansion and real estate projects, the total investment today is way over tens of billions. Seriously, looking at the place feels like you're moving through Dubai, and that's not just coming from us. Real tourists have attested to that fact.
You know, as they were building the city and I was going around, I started to be reminded of Dubai and the United Arab Emirates.
While building futuristic cities and tourist hotspots are all commendable, there has to actually be a way to get people not just to the city, but to move between all these cities regularly, easily, and affordably. Which is where the next stage of the 2030 vision comes in: Egypt's high-speed train project. But first, let's tell you of two much older projects that have been roped into this Vision 2030. Here's something most people don't know. Two of Egypt's most important cities were built decades before Vision 2030 even existed. The 10th of Ramadan city, founded in 1977, has quietly become one of Africa's biggest industrial powerhouses, housing over 5,000 factories, employing 650,000 workers, and accounting for roughly 1/3 of Egypt's total exports. Since Vision 2030 launched, it's been folded into the national agenda, with major infrastructure upgrades, new housing units, and a brand new dry port backed by Swiss giant Medlock, connecting it by road and rail to ports like Ain Sokhna and Alexandria. Then there's 6th of October city, founded in 1979, just 32 kilometers west of Cairo. This one took a different route entirely. 7 private universities, the Magdi Yacoub Heart Center, Africa's headquarters of the Confederation of African Football, Egypt's Smart Village Tech Park, and yes, an actual indoor ski slope. Like 10th of Ramadan, it predates Vision 2030, but has since been integrated into the broader agenda through ongoing residential expansion, infrastructure upgrades, and economic development programs. Both cities are legacy projects being actively modernized, not built from scratch, but rebuilt from within. And that's why a massive rail network matters, to connect all these cities, residents, and workers to and from one location to another. Let's tell you more about the rail project. So there's this $4.5 billion deal with Siemens Mobile to build a modern rail system. We're talking about a 1,800-kilometer network that'll connect over 60 remote towns and cities that have always been tough to reach. It'll also help move cargo and freight around. The plan includes building depots and freight stations along the rail corridor. The network is split into 3 lines: green, blue, and red. It'll cut through the Red Sea port cities, go up to Alexandria on the north coast, then pass through all those new tourist towns and all the way to Marsa Matruh. It'll also connect Greater Cairo along the Nile, Luxor, the port town of Safaga, and even stretch down to Sudan. The goal is to serve 30 million people every year, with an estimated price tag of over $20 billion. Thanks to speeds of 230 kilometers an hour, travel time gets cut in half. Around 90% of Egyptians will finally have access to rail connections, and the country can slash carbon emissions by 70%. Pretty solid, right? Well, not as solid as the next project, which takes energy sustainability to the next level, the El Dabaa nuclear power plant. Building a nuclear plant, not an easy undertaking. You see, back in 2015, Russia and Egypt signed a $30 billion deal to get this project going. But then COVID hit and everything stalled. Luckily, in 2022, they finally got the construction permit. Before this deal, Egypt had been relying mostly on natural gas for power. But this plant? Total game changer. Soon enough, a bunch of those new planned cities will be running largely on this 4-unit plant. The goal is for it to generate about 10% of Egypt's total electricity, enough to light up over 4 million homes. And in true Vision 2030 fashion, the plant is set to start operating in 2027, with all 4 units fully up and running by 2030. On top of that, the El Dabaa project will create tens of thousands of jobs and help boost Egypt's industrial growth, all while giving the country another solid energy source to rely on. But hey, Vision 2030 isn't just about infrastructure. It's also about pumping up the economy. And Egypt has more tricks up its sleeve. One of those big ones, the Suez Canal Economic Zone. What a lot of people don't know is that Egypt is a massive trade path between Europe and Asia. The Suez Canal permits over 25,000 ships through every year. It is around this zone that Egypt's bright idea comes into play. The bright idea being the economic zone. So let's talk about this special economic zone, officially set up in 2015 with a pretty bold goal: turn about 350 square kilometers into a major gateway for trade between Europe and Asia. By playing up its prime location, Egypt is hoping to pull in foreign investment and spark industrial growth across the region. What kind of industries are we talking about? Logistics, textiles, solar energy, tire manufacturing, basically a little bit of everything. And so far, it's already created around 100,000 jobs, with thousands more on the way. Fast forward to 2026, and a $1.7 billion deal lands to build a metal industries complex inside the zone. That means 9 new factories and another 8,000 jobs once it's done. All in all, about $6 billion in foreign investment has already flowed into expanding the zone. And the long game? Attract even more cash to build out more container berths at the East Port, boost capacity, and just keep the momentum going year after year. With less than 4 years to go for the full realization of the Egypt Vision 2030 project, all we can do is wait and hope that it is actually fully realized. If it is, the Egypt will become not just a beacon in Africa, but a global giant in its own right, with a GDP well on its way to $1 trillion.